Beware spoilers. I am Adam. It is a freezing 16 degrees out on this lovely Friday. How's everyone doing today? I have seen Peacemaker. It's going to take a little bit for this to happen because I saw a few episodes of Peacemaker last night. I saw 4, 5, and 6. I have not watched 7 yet, and I think there are 8 in total, but I don't have access to 8. I guess they don't want people seeing the series finale before it comes out. So, what happens in each is a little blurry. I think 5 is the strongest episode. I'm not going to talk about it, why, but that's a really fun one. And you can see Gunn's roots really come out in 5 with his time working in trauma. And it's really, really fun. Now, as for episode 3, we get a rematch between Peacemaker and Judo Master. We see the continued relationship between the White Dragon and Peacemaker. And I think that's an interesting, kind of. I think the problem with it is it is too clearly one is bad, one is, horrible. There is too clear of a dividing line between the two of them. And, beyond the fact that White Dragon is a horrible racist and, he is the White Dragon, and we see the costume in this episode, too. Besides that, there is no, the smart thing to do would have been to watch the other episodes tonight, and then watch episode 4 last night. So, yeah, because I'm trying to, on the fly, keep in mind what happened in later episodes and what happened in the episode that's out. That would have been the smart thing to do, not the moronic thing to do, as we are here in this case. So, I think that, what have we got here? Because I think that, it's too clear cut that, he's bad. If it was at least an actual conflict between, within Peacemaker, where it's look, he's got the issue with the parent, and that's something that's always going to net some interesting drama, but I think the problem becomes, it's too open contemptuously between Robert Patrick's White Dragon and then what's his name and Peacemaker. It's too you are nothing to me. You all of that kind of dialogue doesn't indicate that we can have an understanding between them. If it was something where it's I know there's good in my dad, so I'm going to try and do it, and kind of have it be a warped Luke Skywalker kind of thing, yeah, he's Space Hitler, but, there's good in there somewhere. Here it's oh, there's, I know him, he still cares about me, his own warped sensibilities, he's okay with it, and he's just openly racist in every episode he's in, and that's not a spoiler, because he's been doing that the entire time he's been on the show, and it works, and I think that aspect of it works, but I think the issue comes in when we look at, why is, besides the fact that he is the parent, what is the inherent motivation for Peacemaker to try to save his soul? Because, there is no redeeming part of the soul here. It's not like he's he's got deep issues or something like that. Like, he's deeply, deeply racist. Profoundly racist. But, you know, and you know, he's a supervillain, he's so racist. But, you know, he's, you know, he cares about his family, where it's like, you know, we get that kind of thing with, like, Agent Liberty in Supergirl Season 4, where it's like, he's doing it, like, in his own warped sensibility. He's doing it out of love for his family, and his perception is warped. But, you know, there is an understanding as to why that happened. But, like, you know, he doesn't even have that, where it's like, he doesn't have the sympathy to him, which I understand. You don't want to give sympathy to, you know, a member of the Klan. Like, you know, you don't want to be like, hey, he is super, super, super sympathetic. You know, he's just part of the Klan because of X, Y, and Z. Like, there is no good answer to why is he part of the Klan? Why is he this openly racist? Why is all of this kind of, you know, a thing? And it's like, they don't want to, like, all of that is kind of, you know, understandable to an extent, but I don't think that, you know, necessarily I need to see an entire, like, I at the same time, from a narrative standpoint, you gotta give me something. Like, I need something to make this, you know, to make going forward how this is work. I mean, unless they're just not going to address that and be like, oh, well, you know, we're just not going to have him do that. It's not about redeeming his father. It's about, you know, him defeating his father. But I still feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect there. That's, you know, a gripe, but it's also a gripe where there is no solution. Like, there's not something I can look to and be like, oh, they could do this instead. But the way the characters are characterized, I guess, they can't, what's it called? There is no way to really get around that without being like, oh, that's a little weird. That's a decision. I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, there is no, yeah, it's one of those things where, like, there is no good solution to that problem. And then what was the other thing? I'm still not really digging, you know, I think that it entirely comes down to the fact that I have very little comics knowledge of the character Vigilante, but I saw, you know, Arrow, and I saw what they did with Adrian Chase there, even if he was Prometheus and not Vigilante. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, they say the name Adrian Chase, and I'm like, oh, it's that guy. And like, he was so well done on Arrow as kind of like a deconstruction of who Oliver is. Like, it worked so well on that show that, like, now seeing him here as, like, comic relief, like, the kid who plays him is fantastic. I can't fault that, but I think that, again, it's my own problem where I'm looking at it like, oh, but, you know, Adrian Chase was so cool. Like, he was, like, he did all this cool stuff, and like, if he's gonna be a villain that does it so well on that show, why am I watching this and being like, oh, it's just one of those things where you watch it and you're like, oh, that sucks, because it's not what it was before. But I mean, you can't really fault the show for it not being what the other show did in a way that may or may not have defined the character, which I'm not even 100% certain of, because I haven't read comics that have Vigilante or Adrian Chase in them. So yeah, I feel like there was a, what's it called, an oddity there, to say the least. What else was there about this? The show is still entertaining. I mean, and the show is far more entertaining than I ever gave it credit for, when it was in pre-production and in production, and then they had announced it, and I was like, look, I don't like this idea of, greenlighting the shows before we see a frame of footage about the character on screen beforehand. And it's like, look, if you're going to do something entirely new that's different, but spinning it out from something else, this is how you got into the problem you did with Batman, with like having to completely redo your entire universe. There are opportunities to be like, hey, I think this is a bad idea, but once it's already, out, once the show has started, it could get messy. So yeah, I think that, it may, I may have been hasty on that. It was weird, because I gave Dune the benefit of the doubt. So I was like, oh, well, they got tons and tons and tons of books and reference material for what the Bene Gesserit did and all of that, so the Sisterhood show could work. But, like, that could work, but, like, I was very unwilling to be like, oh, well, what about these DC shows? They don't have almost a century of source material to go back to. What else was there with this? I don't know. I think that's really it. It's a very strong episode, but I think the next one that's coming next week, people are gonna like. There's a lot of really fun action, and it's I think it's my personal favorite of the 6 episodes I've seen. It's my personal favorite, and that's coming next week. So yeah. Can't really think about. Can't really think of anything else to say on this, because the show is just so well done. I don't like just doing plot summaries of the episode, because if I do a plot summary of the episode, it doesn't feel like a review. Then it feels like I'm just giving you a plot summary, and there is a difference between the two, despite what people on the internet may think. So, yeah, I guess I feel like there's a, the show is, I would say the show is getting good at this point, but that would be diminutive of what has happened already that was good as well. And the other thing is, I'm a little bit cagey, because I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, and then this happened, and it's like, nope, that happens in episode 5, or no, that happens in episode 6, or, I'm trying to keep it under wraps and be like, oh, well, that, but, and I think that even my criticism of Adrian Chase is probably unfair. But yeah, I digress. I don't think there's really anything else to add on that. I might be going to the movies today, probably not, probably tomorrow. Because the showings today are late. I don't want to, have to spend my entire day, out after work. And like I said yesterday, I'd probably be the King's Daughter, not Redeeming Love, because, I have no interest in watching what's we're looking for here? A romance about a person who falls in love with a prostitute, and then it's like, oh, well, it's based on a book, and it's like, it has nothing to do with she's a prostitute or anything like that, but it's done and done and done and done, and, I feel like I've seen this movie before. What was the other one that, and The King's Daughter, I hadn't heard of it. It's PG and it's getting a wide release. It has a good chance of being terrible. I haven't read any reviews for it either. So yeah, that's probably where it's going to end up going. What else was there? And then Naomi. Right, Naomi came back. So we'll be talking about Naomi at some point. Episode 2 and then episode 3 airs on Tuesday. As you can hear, my throat is starting to not cooperate. So we will wrap up here for today. And until the next episode, have a great rest of your week.